Ricky, he's gonna see! I'm turning into a mermaid!
Boys, I'm afraid of the water.
Cause I'm no ordinary girl.
Hi, Rogue.
Hey, Zax.
Hi, Carina.
Hey, Zax. Hey, Rogue.
Hi, Carina.
So, Rogue, you've seen sorry.
Welcome back to Lindsay Lohan month.
Yes, exactly.
Look at us syncing up.
So, Rogue, your thoughts on Lindsay Lohan's movie Mean Girls? Did you like it? Dislike it?
Excellent movie. I definitely forgot how much I liked it until I watched it again. Has like an 84 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a good sign. All-star cast. Oh my goodness. I went back and watched it and I was like, I didn't know half of these people. I remembered Lindsay Lohan and I remembered Amy Poehler, and that was pretty much it. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many great actors in this movie.
Tina Fey, Rachel McAdams, Amanda's... I was going to say Seinfeld, but that's not her last name, but we all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
God, I love her.
Yeah, Amanda Seyfried. I used to not like her because she looked weird to me, but like as I've gotten older, she looks fine.
She's cute. I love her.
No, I like her. Tim Meadows, like so many great people, and then of course it's directed by Lauren Michaels, or produced, whatever.
Excellent.
So yeah, just I love Mean Girls.
Wonderful. I'm in the same camp. Carina is as well. But this is something we mentioned when we talked about how we were going to do this video, that you mentioned you'd never seen or heard of Mean Girls 2. Is that correct?
I did not know there was a sequel.
Oh, how I envy you.
Probably because it was direct to video, or
it was
equivalent
on ABC
of direct to video.
Family.
Yeah.
So, but as Carina and I have seen it, and we actually went the extra mile and rented it, and
I had to pay
it.
$5 Canadian to watch this movie on YouTube. I am so angry.
Ooh. I did the American $3.99.
I'm so pissed. I paid to watch this horrible movie.
So how this is going to work, just so you can know what you're in for, and everyone at home can know what they're in for, is I'm going to ask you about something that I feel the original Mean Girls did well, and your thoughts on it, and then Carina and I will explain how Mean Girls 2 trashed that and killed that.
Ruined it.
Okay.
And then spit on its grave.
And did a dance.
I'm so...
And let me just, before we start, so I mentioned the Rotten Tomato score of the first Mean Girls movie. Let me look up the Rotten Tomato score of the second one, just so that we have a general idea of maybe the difference between them.
I also have a fun fact.
There's no Rotten Tomato score.
I have a fun fact about the production of the second Mean Girls movie.
Okay.
So normally when you film a movie, it takes like a number of months, right? Maybe a year if you're like being extra particular. Mean Girls 2 was filmed in 22 days.
What?
Less than a month. And it really shows because I think every shot we see is the first take.
22
It's that
days.
bad. It's
Okay.
so terrible.
Well,
So,
Yes.
Mean Girls 2, there's no critic consensus, probably partially because it was straight to video, but the audience score is 31%.
That's too high.
Which, I mean, that says a lot, because normally the audience score typically is way higher than the critic score.
yeah.
It's too
Let's see what
high.
the audience score is.
Well, this is kind of like an interesting thing. Like my theory that I guess we can talk about more as we go on. But like Drew Gooden did his video about sequels that aren't actually sequels, and this is definitely one of those types of movies. In that, if they had just taken Mean Girls off of it and they took out the plastics, they gave Tim Meadows up, and they just made this movie, it would have been nothing. People would have just forgotten about it and been like, yeah, that was a good way to waste 20 minutes.
Do you remember when I said that 2014 Endless Love is fan fiction of the 1984 Endless Love?
Yes.
Mean Girls 2 feels like Wattpad quality fan fiction of the first Mean Girls that was written by a 13-year-old girl who didn't fit in, who had a bully named Mandy,
Yeah.
who wished she had a rich friend. It's garbage, what I'm trying to say.
I guess one thing I will say though, and I think we're gonna get, well, I'll wait for that. First thing I want your thoughts on, what did you think of just the general aesthetic of North Shore? Was it a high school you'd want to go to?
This is always a weird question for me because I feel like people ask me still, 10 years after high school, if I liked the high school that I went to, and I'm like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I wasn't like, oh man, I wish I could go to this other high school. That was just never a thought that crossed my mind.
Did you like, I guess, let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
Like, did you like the look of the school? Like the bright colors? Like, did it look like just the...
I mean, it looks like a school.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know. It looked very... I mean, this movie came out in 2004. It looked very early 2000s.
I'll make this question even easier. Does the school look bad?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yes, thank you. You helped me out. So, in Mean Girls 2, North Shore was basically, I guess, sold to the 1984 dystopia because it's just gray. There's cameras around, the big old windows, and just monitors everywhere. And that's the
Here
school.
in the USSR.
That is odd, but to be fair, I think I've heard people complain about some high school movie sets, like, where are the windows? There's no windows in this high school, in this movie. My high school did not have any windows. So
I mean,
to be fair, some rooms in my high school did not have windows, which was weird, and it made me very claustrophobic.
my high school didn't have, it wasn't just like some classrooms didn't have windows. There were no windows in the whole school. The only place that had like, it was built during the 70s during an energy crisis, I guess. So, the only place that had any like views to the outside was in the foyer, whatever, the quad. There was skylights, and I think the only reason there were skylights is because there were trees that were inside, like real trees, so they had to get sunlight to grow.
I like when schools have that. I like go do work in like elementary schools, and like there's some that were like built in the 70s, and they'll have those like kind of okay, would you call it a courtyard where it's like it's like a room but outside? I don't think that description makes any sense. There's trees in the school.
Like the quad.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, the quad.
Yeah.
Anyway. But, okay, yeah. Like, I guess it's just like, this is supposed to be the same school. And it's very clearly not. Which is just like, at that point, why can't it just be like, Janice Ian's cousin goes to this school across the way?
Or not even like they're related. It could just be like, hey, this is a situation that can happen literally anywhere else in America, literally at any time. Look, here it is happening again at this different school in this different city and this different, I almost said province, in this different state.
To be fair, the first Mean Girls was filmed largely in Toronto.
Come on, Toronto. You did something right. Why do they film here so much? It's not a pretty city. So
far, you're giving them a pass on the aesthetic. That's fine.
No, okay. From what you tell me, there's monitors and cameras everywhere. That's kind of weird.
Well, they come into play.
Is it foreshadowing?
Well, okay. Yeah, I'll just say.
Not in the school, though.
Yeah, there are monitors all over the school, like to do like the news and announcements like all the time and stuff, but there are like monitors in several different locations.
We had them in the classrooms for like morning announcements because we'd have like tech students do little like news shows. They were really fun.
Cute.
I really liked the one that my friends did. and then like one in the foyer where it's like, here's the slideshow of all the fun stuff we've done this year. Not like everywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
I guess everywhere if it's in
and-
every room. Not every room had them,
and
just
we'll
the
get
nice ones.
into like the details of this a little later, but just mind you that the fact that these monitors are everywhere will come into the girl on girl warfare later.
Speaking of girl on girl.
So, thoughts on Lindsay Lohan's Katie Heron?
I thought she was a very good character. That's so lame saying that. She was homeschooled. She was in Africa. For
If you're from Africa, why are you white?
oh my god, you can't just ask people why they're white.
See, okay, before you keep going, I'm sorry, I have to interject. Part of the reason why the second Mean Girls is so bad, this is not the only reason why it's bad, there's plenty more. We're gonna have an hour-long discussion as to why it's not good. But Mean Girls 2 is so unquotable.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The dialogue
can't-
sucks. The dialogue is
If I
terrible.
didn't write it down, it would have been lost forever.
Forever.
It,
I remember one line, literally one line, because it's kind of funny.
okay.
The rest is just garbage trash. I could quote, like, I don't know how many Mean Girls quotes. You go, Glenn Coco. Oh my god, Danny DeVito, I love your work.
When I was in 5th grade, me and my 2 friends at the time were obsessed with it. We would spend every lunch just going through the movie. We knew all the words. And like, I think, and like, when I was in middle school, if I was ever bored in class, I would just watch Mean Girls in my head. I knew it that well. Like,
That reminds me of this. Sometimes I'd watch Shrek in my head.
so, very quotable. Okay. What I didn't hear
So-
you say
Not the
about
second
Katie
Mean Girls.
Heron, though, was that she's not like other girls. And that is Tess from Camp Rock's whole character.
God, I've gotten up from my chair. I hate Tess from Camp Rock so much. I hate her.
Okay, she does have a name. Her character's name is...
I don't care what her name is.
All right, we'll stick with Tess from Camp Rock for the rest of this. One thing,
She makes me so angry.
Katie Heron was a homeschool jungle freak. That label was given to her by society, right?
And she had lunch in the bathroom, which was kind of weird. I don't know why you would choose the bathroom. I feel like there were other places you could go.
The hallway.
I didn't know why
That
she
were the
did it.
bathroom.
Your locker.
I don't know why she did it in the stall. I mean, like, it was funny to look at. I don't know why she needed to take the whole
Right.
tray, but, like, girl, just take your sandwich
It's
and
a
go
good-
hang out in the bathroom. And you could just sit there. Like, you could sit against your locker. There are lots of places you could go.
I understand thematically why it was
Yeah.
done. It's shown to represent like how alone she
Right.
feels
Yeah.
and how isolated she is from the rest of the school. But logically, it's stinky in there.
Yeah.
Why would you eat food in there?
Yeah.
And
but,
she's a smart girl.
yeah.
Well, like,
So,
I was about to say something that the comments would kill me for. I'm like, it's like, well, she's never like went to school. Actually, no. Yeah, she never went to school. She wouldn't know. No, she'd be in a public restroom before.
Yeah.
yeah. So, I don't know.
I don't know. But
Where do we know where in Africa she was? Like, it wasn't South Africa. It wasn't like
I think,
a big city, right? It's like the Sahara.
Yeah.
Where they
yeah, because her parents are zoologists.
yeah.
So
were. Okay.
So,
Okay, so the comments aren't gonna tell me I'm racist because I'm assuming that there are no public restrooms in Africa. I know that there are public restrooms in Africa. All of Africa is not a jungle. I know that.
also,
Don't call me out.
she hadn't spent her entire life in Africa. It was 12 years. So
I mean, from 4 to 16.
I know, but, like,
I don't remember public restrooms when I was
oh, I
little.
do.
they
I
left
remember
a
the
mark
flushy
on
toilets
you.
that were automatic.
Yeah.
I remember that my sister hated the automatic flushy toilets.
I mean, who doesn't?
They always surprise you.
I hate it. You're like, I'm not
But
done
honestly,
yet.
because I'm so used to the automatic ones, I feel gross with the manual ones. Like, I know we all touched this.
I don't want to touch
Just
it.
step on it with your foot.
Yeah, when I
You're gonna wash your hands
remember
afterwards
when,
anyway.
I forget. I was like so little, but someone, I guess, like took me to like the movies or whatever, and like to babysit me. I guess like I just want to like phrase that I was a little girl because just so like we're clear on like why an adult would like needed to help me in the bathroom. But anyway, she taught me the kick thing.
This is Axe as a grown woman.
This was yesterday.
And you weren't social distancing?
Uh-oh.
Oh god.
Dating this
It
audio.
gets worse and worse.
But then she taught me the kick thing and I used to do it like a little like fighting move and I felt so strong.
That you still do it today, right?
Yeah.
You have to.
So
You gotta do a little like fighting stance before you go
like
in
a
there.
battle
Strong.
cry. Ah!
Ah! Like do a whole haka before you go in there.
Yummy ya to the bathroom. Anyway, okay, well,
Cast guidance on
the
yourself.
point was that like Katie like finds out that people think she's a homeschool jungle freak. In the opening monologue, Tess from Camp Rock straight up tells us, she was like, it doesn't, just because I move schools all the time and I'm not like other girls doesn't mean that I'm a loner with a highly evolved defense mechanism. Well, okay, it does.
I'm like, shut up, Tess from Camp Rock.
Oh my goodness, right off the bat, like they just like keep beating it over your
Right
head.
off the bat, you hate her.
Just, I'm not like other girls, people. Like,
I ride a Vespa
Her-
and I wear leather
This is like
jackets.
the
So it is literally just an OC.
I was going to say, I meant to say before
Yeah.
I
It's my
got
OC.
ahead of myself. I was going to say that I think you might enjoy Tess from Camp Rock's existence because she definitely gives me Marissa vibes.
Yes.
Hard in the corner.
When you said rides a Vespa and wears leather jackets, I just had like immediate flashback.
Like she's super edgy. She like she's just, I wrote her, she's super edgy and has her not like other girls shtick cranked to 1,000. Like, and I just want to like,
This movie hates women. I'm gonna say it. This movie hates
The
women.
first Mean Girls absolutely didn't hate women.
Yeah. Mean Girls, the first one, the better one, loved women. It loved girls. It was like, hey, girls, we know high school absolutely blows. And we know that the social system of high school also blows. But guess what? Everybody else is in the same boat as you. You see Regina George, she's got some things going on in her life. You see Janice over there, she's got stuff going on in her life. That's okay. This Mean Girls 2 says, hey women, I hate you. You're terrible. Remember that. Don't be like those other girls who suck. You gotta be cool. And there's other stuff they say, but we'll
like,
get
I
into
guess-
that.
And also, like, a note that I have is just, like, I feel like the appeal of Katie and, like, what Lindsay got across so well in the movie is it's that, one, she's actually not like other girls, not, like, by them telling us, but, like, we get to see, like, she really likes math. She wants to be a mathlete. And, like, she, you know,
Yeah.
she was never in this environment before. So she is like objectively different, but like
A fish out of
yeah,
water.
and like the whole thing is her journey. Like at a certain point, like she drinks the Kool-Aid, and then she's like, "Whoa, who have I become?" And like grows from that. Tess,
My Swedish friend.
she shows up and she's like, I've been to schools like this before. I know all the cliques and tropes. No one needs to like hold her hand and like guide her through, which again, I know we don't need like a shot for shot remake, but like, why is Tess from Camp Rock such trash?
Another thing that happens like in that scene where she's like, I've been to school like this before. I'm like, okay, shut up. But when that scene is happening, she's like walking into school and she's parking her Vespa because she drives a Vespa because she's different. So she's walking through the parking lot, and she's like, you can tell a lot about people by the cars that they drive, and she's like pointing at the different cars, and it's trying to be like the lunchroom scene from the first one, and it is a disappointing attempt at being like, remember this movie that was so much better?
Cause like, yeah,
But it's like, here are the muscle cars, here are the smart cars who are I don't know what's wrong with me tonight, ladies. The nerd loser cars, and here, like, and then, like, for no reason, it's like, ooh, and here, like, the, like, cute cars who will, like, take your clothes off. I'm like, there's so much slut-shaming in this movie that it makes me genuinely angry, and this movie already makes me genuinely angry.
Yeah, it's just a weird...
It hates women.
It's a weird take, like, the things they did to Tim Meadows in this movie... It's just, I don't know.
Unforgivable.
Wait, is Tim Meadows in this movie?
Yes, he's still Principal Duval, and they took all the
They
life
ruined
out
his
of
character.
It. Okay, like, well,
No.
while we're on the topic, I guess, what were your thoughts on Tim Meadows? What did you like about him in the original movie?
Okay, so I love Tim Meadows. I've seen him in several teacher roles that he's done, and he's always so great in those roles. He's like the perfect teacher. The perfect person for a teacher role, I guess. I don't know. This one in Mean Girls, he like tried to intervene when it was appropriate, left things to other people when that was appropriate. Obviously was trying to get with Tina Fey.
Who wouldn't?
Like, honestly. I don't know. He was a good teacher.
Well, in the years between Lindsay and Tess from Camp Rock, Principal Duval fell on some hard times. Like, apparently there were sexual assault allegations he was worried about resurfacing. He just... okay, so, like, in Mean Girls, when...
He is pure.
Yeah, well, not in this...
They ruined his character.
Anymore. He's... And I like, one thing that was fun about him is, like, he was just enough, like the kind of cynical educator where it's like kind of tired of it, but like you can still tell like he does genuinely care about the students, but like he's just kind of like
the, oh, how was your summer? Oh, I got carpal tunnel. How was your summer?
like,
I got divorced. That's good. None of that
like
in this
fun
movie.
deadpan humor, but this was just like droopy dog with deadpan delivery, and it was just a whole mess, and it was just like,
who's a sex pervert, apparently.
Yeah, like, I guess we're supposed to assume that they were wrongly filed against him.
But why is that a joke? Why is that a joke that this movie thought was gonna land? They're like, haha, sexual assault allegations. That's so funny, am I right, teens?
Especially for something that is like a real issue in many high schools.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Like, we all remember that one episode that we recorded where we were just like, hey, remember the bullying that we girls experienced in high school? It was just sexual harassment and assault. It's a real thing that happens in high school. And why this movie was like, this is okay. This is fine. I don't see a problem here.
Yeah, none of the jokes really land. I guess except the one that Carina's holding on to for dear life, which we'll get to later.
It's really not that funny, but just the delivery of it, I'm like, okay, that was kind of funny.
When we get into it, it's definitely going to be one of those things where it's like, I haven't laughed in so long, so this like is mildly funny, but now like it's really good because like of how the absence of humor from the last like hour and a half of your life. But okay, moving on. Thoughts on Janice, Ian, and Damien?
They are the perfect misfit trope, and I realize that it is a trope, but it's the trope done well. They are like the misfits, but only by the definition of they literally do not belong in any other group. Like even the loser group, they don't belong in that group.
Yeah.
And then I just really like that Katie was able to find these friends as quickly as she did. It didn't like linger on, oh, she's eating the bathroom every day and blah, blah, blah. Like she was able to find the
It's like the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
The next day she got friends.
I love that Janice calls her Caddy for the whole movie.
Yeah.
That is definitely not something I
it's
noticed.
like, oh, it's Katie. I'm going to call you Caddy.
That's not something I noticed when I was younger, but that is such a cool isn't the right word. It's a funny characterization of her.
It's kind of also a little bit of foreshadowing.
Right.
Because, like, she does become
Caddy.
Yeah. Oh.
like, personality-wise, yeah?
Okay.
Oh, just pick that up on the spot. Look at me, film analyzer.
Wow, you go. And, like,
Look at me, really stretching before these reaches.
I think they really just, like, are so interesting because, like, we don't get to see, like, a lot of characters like them because, like, yes, like, they have, like, Janice Ian has a very intense aesthetic going on, but at the same time, like, when you spend time with her, she's just, like, a person. She's not just always saying, like, the blood and death that I love all the time, which is, like, something that, like...
And she's also not...
Yeah.
She's also not always just saying, like, quips. She, on the outside, looks like one of the I'm not like other girls thing, but... she's just like a normal teenager in her own way that's not, and then Damien is like the gay friend trope, but he's not. I mean, they didn't play out his stereotype to the extreme, which I feel like a lot of movies really skirt the line of doing that with the gay friend trope, especially in high school, because I feel like
we all remember Gay Best Friend and how that movie is a travesty.
I mean, honestly, like, we can talk about that movie another time. Like, I have feels. But, like, it's such an...
I have some words about that movie.
It's so interesting. Anyway.
It's so trash. JoJo deserved better.
Honestly, I was just glad to see her. I'm not going to lie.
I'm like, JoJo, you're back. What was the last movie you did? RV?
I'm here.
I can't watch RV anymore. It like makes me cry.
But yeah, I think with all these characters in the original movie, like, yes, they're all like tropes and they're kind of like a satire on these tropes, but they all still feel like real people. Like, I could totally run into any of these people in my high school.
Exactly.
So that was lovely.
Yeah, so Janice isn't like saying quips all the time or all death and despair all the time, and then Damien isn't just completely boy crazy the whole time, which
I don't even, is he really boy crazy at all, or is he just like, my name's Damien, I'm gay?
I think he has like a couple of lines about
like
that, like, but lead,
but it's
lend to the fact that he's gay, but like it's definitely not. And then the other part about Janice that I like is, of course, which I'm sure we'll talk about later in more detail, but the rumor that was started about her.
Yeah.
They never explicitly say if it's accurate or not. Obviously,
like, by the end she has a boyfriend, so it's like,
well,
okay, I guess you queer baited us a little bit,
I
but
guess,
I'll let it slide.
She was named after an openly lesbian singer, Janice Ian. So, and it is high school, so maybe she, I don't know. I still feel like
maybe she's not out.
Right.
She's still like on that journey of self-discovery,
or is bi, or whatever. But
yeah,
I feel like the movie played it well enough to leave you questioning that, which is fine because who cares? But even though she ended up with someone at the end, a male at the end, I still feel like it didn't outwardly portray her as straight or queer. So
Oh, I remember why the lesbian rumor started. It's like, it's a bit of a throwaway line at the end, but when you catch it, you're like, oh, I get it. So I can't remember what his name is, but like the math dude, he goes up to her and he's like, oh, hey, like I'm I can't remember what he says, but he's like, ooh, I'm Iranian, where are you? And she's like, oh, I'm Lebanese. I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Oh, Lebanese lesbian. Ha ha, funny. I get it.
Like, I think it's just good because, like, all these characters, I think it just goes to say something, like, with Damien and Janice, like, people assume they're gay and whatnot, but, like, they're just people, and they're not defined by their sexuality, so, like, whatever the case is, it doesn't matter, and, like, it's just normal. They're just people, which I
Right.
feel like is important. So, I will say, they got one of the friends right, and one of the friends wrong in this. Not so, how to explain this? Okay, Abby is basically Tess from Camp Rock's Janician, and Quinn is basically the Damien. So, like, in Mean Girls, Damien, like, he knew about the plastic. He was like, she always wins Spring Fling Queen, and, like, we stand, but she's scary, and, like, he knows all that stuff. In this, Quinn, the wannabe over here, is just obsessed with the plastic and desperately wants to be a plastic. More on that as we go. Abby is similar to Janician in that she has history with the Regina George of this movie. And I think
Because they live across the street from each other.
And as far as, like,
Because Abby is rich.
and, like, super rich. Okay, yeah.
Richer than the mean girl in
And
this
then
movie.
before we get into more on my feelings on Abby, Janician, Damien, and Katie, you'd say they became friends organically in the movie?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Well, Abby's dad pays Tess from Camp Rock to be her friend. So...
Oh, my gosh.
The movie starts out with, like, her in his office, and he's handing her a wad of cash, and it looks really suspicious. You're like, what is this movie going to be about? And she's like, oh, you're probably wondering how I got into this situation. The movie literally does that.
Oh, my gosh.
And then it's a flashback to, like, 2 weeks ago, and then it walks us through everything. But the gist of it is, like, Abby, for whatever reason, the whole school hates her. Why? We don't know. There's literally no reason for anybody to hate her. She's a really, like, sweet, down-to-earth girl. She's a talented artist. She's humble. Mandy just hates her, so therefore, by default, everybody else has to hate her. So then her dad's like, oh, she's so sad. Here, let me, like, buy her things to make her feel better, which, like, is a questionable parenting tactic, but her mom makes up for it for being a sweet angel.
I think it's definitely the kind of thing where he's like, I love my daughter, and, like, I really do want to do right by her. Like, I don't get it. Like, he's just, like, he means well, he's just not good at it, I guess. One thing I think, as far as making a Mean Girls 2, obviously, I don't think you should never make a sequel of anything. I think you can do it. I think maybe I don't think this is necessarily a Mean Girls 2 because I feel like it would need to follow these people specifically if it's going to be like a direct sequel. But I'm all for like a Mean Girls story. In which case I think we could have had Abby be the star because that would basically be like showing the dynamic between Janician and Regina George, like just like that movie about like people who used to be best friends and now they're not anymore kind of deal. But in this, Abby is super rich, and whatever Mandy had, Abby got the better version of it. Just in life.
We don't know why, though.
Like, if Mandy...
It just seems like a bunch of coincidences.
Mandy got, like, a nice bouncy castle. Abby got, like, a huge bouncy castle that you had to, like, climb up and then, like, jump into or whatever. But one time, they were going to a costume party, and Mandy, who's Regina George, she had, like, a nice little custom-made peasant costume, and then Abby rolls in...
Why are you going as a peasant for Halloween? Poor choice. That's on you.
It was left over from the Ren fair.
But like Halloween, like if you're going to a Renaissance fair, that makes sense. You're like, oh, I'm just a peasant girl. I'm going out to like pick the turnips. Like, that makes sense. This is Halloween. This is the one day a year for you to go off. And you're like, I'm a peasant. Like, honey,
Abby
no.
did go off, and she rolls through in full Marie Antoinette gear, just decked to the nines. So Mandy, of course, hates her guts. We'll get into a little bit. Oh, I will say that because, like I said, Quinn, the Damien of this movie, top 10 anime betrayals. She cheats on them or whatever. And, like, I would like to say that at one point when, like, we do the top anime betrayal deal and what, I feel like, you guys know, I kind of laugh a lot. Like, it's not hard to earn a chuckle from me, I feel. I can't express how little laughing I did in this movie. Even F the prom got a chuckle.
It's painful.
F the prom.
I haven't even seen that movie, and I know it's garbage and unfunny.
Garbage.
You done goof. Like, lately, the movies we've been talking about, though, are messing me up because I keep having to give F the prom props for doing these things better than the trash we're talking about right now. And
do you think this movie's gonna make us, like, because of how bad it is, it's gonna make us say something nice about Alex Pettyfer?
I think about that every movie. We'll see. Maybe when we get to the Aaron Samuels dish, maybe his time will come. We'll see.
Oh, no.
So in the original Mean Girls, first it starts, we're just gonna have Caddy stalk Regina, and we'll just laugh at the dumb stuff she says. But eventually, it takes a turn, and they're like, we're gonna get revenge. What did you think of the montage of the best friend squad trying to take down Regina George in the original movie?
I loved the montage. It was a montage done right. I love montages, first of all.
Same.
I talked about in Life Size how it has everything, because one of the things it has is the fashion montage. Great.
Yeah.
Classic. I mean, they did a good job with it. So the point of montages is so that you can get a lot of information in a little bit of time. But you have to be careful because it's really easy to make a montage look cheesy or fake or just unnecessary. I don't know. They did a good job with it. We got all of the information of how they're sabotaging Regina in a very short amount of time. It was funny, entertaining, kept the audience engaged.
What's your favorite part of that montage?
Oh,
like, what's your favorite, like, ooh, you got her, but then, oh, no, Regina.
I don't know.
I mean,
I have to say boob hole,
Yeah.
personally.
I would say that. Like, that
I
just,
guess.
I think that just goes into show just, like, how iconic she was. Like, it's a dumb thing, like, who cares? But because she just oozed confidence, everyone was like, oh, wow, I want to do that, too.
Can we talk about the boob holes thing in Mean Girls 2?
Oh, yeah.
And how
That's
it
what
sucks.
I was getting into. So, in this version, we sort of get a montage, but it's on the plastics end. The plastics are basically doing all this stuff to Tess from Camp Rock, which is already, like, why they should be big enough that she's not even a speck on their radar, which, like, I feel like in the original, Regina George didn't care about any of this. Until
she didn't have to do that. Like, when she was messing with people, she was doing it in, like, sneaky, conniving ways.
yeah.
You know, like
And
girls
when she
do.
finally was like, well, this girl, Katie's clearly got out of hand. She destroyed the whole school in one day.
Yeah.
That...
She popped off. She's like, all right, here's the burn book. Oh my god, the reason why this movie sucks, there's no burn book.
Oh, there's no projection room above the auditorium.
Yeah. there's the movie missed the mark on so many things. Like, how this movie gave you so much material and you took none of it. Like, absolutely none of it. That's
Like-
I hate this movie.
I mean, it would obviously be weird if they just threw in Caltine bars out of nowhere, or like in a lot of certain things, like if she like also worked at the Bath and Body Works or whatever, like that would be weird. But like you could still have a projection room above the auditorium. That's just part of the school, and a lot of stuff can go down there. But, okay, so back to boob holes and Mean Girls 2. Mandy, Regina George, glues Tess to her Vespa. Somehow. I don't know when. But...
Or how.
She's glued...
It's like the night before or something. But, like,
wouldn't it dry? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it dried by then.
But somehow they got her butt to stick to it. So she starts to get up and she's like, oh no. But she's not like other girls, so she won't be tamed. She's raring to go with her Vespa through the halls of the school, which seems like someone would have been like, hey, don't do that. But she goes.
She could have just.
Where did she park it after?
She could have just like taken off her pants and gone home. Like
I don't know. You could have just drive. Yeah, just go home. Just be late for a class.
I mean, I feel like if you're really gonna be like, I'm not like other girls, just take off your pants and walk around that way.
Yeah, just do what they did in the kissing booth and just walk around with your butt hanging out for the rest of the day.
That was so uncomfortable when like they Okay.
That whole movie made me feel so uncomfortable.
I don't have I guess I probably do have way more to say than I'm letting on because I always do. But the only thing I have to say about Kissing Booth right now is like, what was the point of her getting sent to the principal's office when a guy groped her butt? Because he was like, the principal was basically like, you're asking for a dressing like that. Like, what?
Because she broke the dress code.
Yes, I understand that dress codes promote a place of learning and whatever. And she's like, these are my backup.
Dress codes are sexist, period.
It's really,
that's not necessarily true.
I mean, okay. Like, there's some rule, like, we don't need to get into, like, the whole that. It's not important.
Ma'am, your shoulder is distracting this boy from learning.
The one thing I will say, is that with the dress code, it is weird that it's sexist to everybody in a way because, one, girls, your body, you need to wrap that up, otherwise you're gonna be in danger. But also, young boys, if you see an elbow, you're gonna lose your mind over here.
Whoa, boy.
Like, you can't be trusted against these girls. Like,
is that Blair? You know, I'm not even gonna finish that joke because I can't speak.
So Tess takes her Vespa. And she drives to the bathroom, and then Abby follows her.
Vroom,
like,
vroom.
Abby is, like, a good little friend. She, like, hurries over.
Abby,
and then,
something we didn't mention, I talked to Zax about this before. This movie, so it's Tess from Camp Rock, but they also recycle a bunch of, like, Disney stars.
As
and,
they
like,
do.
whatever H2O, Just Add Water was on.
Nick? But Australia?
Yeah.
That's interesting because it was a Paramount film, and Paramount is not owned by Disney.
But
Paramount is owned by Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's Harper from Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yeah, I
who's
saw
Abby.
that. That's crazy.
Mandy is from Cory in the House. I can't remember what her character's name was. Nina? Maybe. I don't know. They're like, this is an ethnic name. Yeah. Hope is that girl from Jonas who is obsessed with Nick. I relate. And then Chastity is Ima from H2O Just Add Water. I refuse to say her name any other way than that.
Gosh.
Oh, Claire Holtz.
It's so funny.
Ima, the conversation.
Cleo's accent was just so thick. It was so much thicker than the other girl.
Ricky. God, I love those TikToks so much.
No, Emma, you can't do that. That was so bad. I'm sorry.
Ricky, he's gonna see. I'm turning into a mermaid.
Boys, I'm afraid of the water.
Cause I'm no ordinary girl.
Oh my gosh. We need to talk about Mako one day because, oh my gosh, they just blew up the series. Anyway.
Yeah, where did that come from?
It's H2O, like they had Mako Island and there's Mako Mermaids.
I know, I don't know, but I feel like H2O was around for a really long time and then all of a sudden it got huge.
Yeah. Well, both are on Netflix right now. It's just...
Or like Aquamarine, was that the same thing? I remember seeing that when I was younger.
Aquamarine was based on a book that is separate, like
They're
has nothing to do with
universes.
H2O,
okay.
But Aquamarine is so good. I still use that movie as a teaching tool when I'm teaching children how to do dolphin cake. I'm like, I tell them, I'm like, go home, watch Aquamarine. It's a great movie. Cultural reset. but watch her swim. That's how you do dolphin kick.
Oh, I like that. So, okay. But back to this. Well, this is a full-on deep dish. We went so many places. Mandy glues Tess's butt to her Vespa. Tess runs to the bathroom. Abby follows, and Tess is like, "You got anything for me to wear?" And she's like, "All I got is my art smocks." So she makes it a little skirt to cover her little tush, and then everybody starts wearing paint splatters on their clothes.
That's dumb.
Right? Okay.
And that's supposed
And
to be
here's
boob
why I
holes.
say it's dumb. That's already a style.
Yeah.
That was a style from the 80s. It's come back several times. It's like an 80s punk style. And it's literally in vogue. That's ridiculous. That is not equivalent to boob holes.
At all.
I'm
It's
like,
also like,
boob holes.
because like, it's just, yeah, this whole, as this keeps escalating, it finally, one thing I will say is like, Mean Girls, it was literally said explicitly, but this was Girl World. All the fighting had to be sneaky.
Right.
So tell me what's sneaky about Tess from Camp Rock creating the anti-plastics, and I'm going to build up a literal army, and we're going to face off against the plastics army in a game of powder puff football.
So, this girl, new Katie, doesn't ever join the plastics.
No. When Damien, in this movie's Quinn, does her top 10 anime betrayal, she joins the plastics.
What's the point of this movie?
What? Oh my gosh. Okay. Thoughts on Aaron Samuels?
He looks sexy with his hair pushed back.
I heard Regina George is dating Aaron Samuels again. The two were seen canoodling at Chris Eisner's Halloween party. They've been inseparable ever since.
Oh, there's this guy in my math class named Aaron. Oh my god, no. He's off limits.
Best friends are just off. Oh my.
I love the first one. It's so good. Why does the second one suck?
Props to Karen. I thought she dumped him for Shane Owen. Irregardless.
Irregardless.
Oh
I feel like people don't know that's where that came from.
Oh.
And then people stopped using it ironically, and now it's just a word.
Oh, that's so weird.
Oh, I like how Aaron Samuels, actor, is gay. I'm like, yes, that's
Yes.
good. I'm proud of you.
I
I don't remember what his name is.
Yeah.
Jonathan Bennett.
yes.
How could I miss that?
I think he was a good boy. Best boy, really.
Best boy.
Oh.
Best Mean Girls boy.
I think what was nice about him is that, like, yeah, he dated Regina, but, like, as far as he was concerned, like, he liked that she was, like, he was a little firecracker, and she calls it as she sees it. But then once he had his opinions, he didn't waver. So, like, he was like, you know what, Katie? You are just like a clone of Regina. And he leaves because he's like, I don't want any part of this. I liked when you were yourself, but this isn't you. Good day. Talk to me when you're mature. Goodbye. This boy they give us is Tyler. And he's he's
personality.
the worst. He's Mandy's brother.
Stepbrother. And there's a weird scene where, like, they're in her room and they're talking, and there's a line that's very reminiscent of, like, those types of things that you'd watch on the internet. But it's like, do you mean our dad? I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Don't say it like that.
They made things weirder than they ever needed to be. But basically, he meets Joe. Instead of calculus, they take woodshop, basically, because she's not like other girls, and she wants to
She's gonna build
she wants
things.
to be an engineer. And she's like, has that moment that
No, she wants to be an architect because she's different.
There's so many girls that want
I
to be
hate her.
architects.
so they meet, and his first line of dialogue Tyler, not Aaron Samuels. She just had her moment where she's like, oh my gosh, hot boy alert. And his first thing is basically just like, so you want to decorate the birdhouse? I'll do the building. And then she's like, actually, I'm going to do this jargony thing and that jargony thing. So there. And he's like, oh, wow, you're not like other girls.
Oh, you know your stuff.
Oh my goodness. That's also, he's always telling Tess from Camp Rock throughout the movie that she's hot, to the point where it's like, does it even matter that she's not like other girls to you, Tyler? Because, like, you just seem to really like her whole body. Then
Tyler just... I have nothing to say about him because we know nothing about him as a character.
He's such a nothing
He's
character.
just there. He's there to look like a discount Matthew McConaughey because the actor who plays him, to me, looks a lot like him. I don't know who the actor is. I'm just like,
Diego
this looks like a little
Boneta.
baby Matthew
he's been in
McConaughey.
other stuff, but, like, it doesn't matter.
But, like, he just, like, there's nothing to
At
him.
one point...
We can't even be like, oh, he's sweet. He's not. He's just
At
boring.
one point, when he has his, like, truth moment with Tess from Camp Rock, he's like, you've changed. Like, you're acting like you're better than the plastics, but you're becoming just like them. But, like, I will admit, the way you're dressing in this stuff is kind of hot.
Really got me
like,
going.
Well, excuse me, you can't tell someone, like, you're
You can't
acting
just double
real
down like
toxic,
that.
but it's really hot, though. What? Tyler, what am I...
I love when you bully people.
Then, at the end, when, like, you know, we work it out and, like, the team is gonna reassemble to take down the evil plastics, he comes in and, like, they do this thing where, like, each character who comes back gets a line. So Abby is like, we haven't forgiven you. And then Tyler says, not even close. And then the other ones say, like, but we're gonna help you with it, blah, blah. But, like, Tyler, you didn't...
Can we talk about the other girls after
Yeah.
this? Oh my god.
Tyler, you did not deserve to say, not even close. You didn't do anything. You did nothing.
You
Also,
enabled
it sounds
this.
like you weren't mad at her because she was so hot.
Yeah, you, like... But then,
Like-
it was also weird because, like, at one point, like, they never officially broke up at any point in the movie. But, like, I guess we were supposed to think they broke up. He just stopped talking to her for a bit. And then immediately, oh, wait, we're cool with her again? Okay, great. I'm coming, too. It was weird, too, because even in the final plan, his presence was unnecessary. He didn't even help in the final battle. He literally sat in the bleachers.
He's just so boring. I have nothing to say about him.
Yeah. Okay,
The
yeah.
other girls, though. The
yeah,
friends.
the friends that they get. I'll let you go off.
Okay, so leading up to the introduction of these three characters who literally walk into frame. So, Tess from Camp Rock and Dishwater Matthew McConaughey, they go on a date. We don't even see the date. We get, like, a Google Slides PowerPoint presentation of them, like, having fun in a park.
There's, like, eating
And then
food,
it's like
smiling, laughing at different locations. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow. And it's like, wow, we could have seen this through, like, a montage, but no, you just gave us a PowerPoint. All right. Love the lack of energy. Give us nothing.
You know what? Straight to video.
Yeah. So, it really shows. So then it's nighttime, and they're in the car, and she's talking about, like, oh, like, because I've moved around so much, I've never been able to, like, go on a date with anybody. And he's like, wait, this is your first date? And she's like, yeah, because, you know, I'm not like other girls. I never, like, played spin the bottle. I've never done 7 minutes in heaven, which, like, by the way, does anyone actually do
they
that?
don't.
Nobody
Especially
does
not
that.
Okay.
in 2011 when this movie was filmed.
We all moved
Yeah.
on.
All right. Glad we got that point out of the way. And he's like, oh, so like you're unexperienced. This like I'm taking some artistic liberties in like what was
That's
said
fine.
because what was said was boring. But he's like, oh, so you're unexperienced, and she's like, yeah, and then they kiss, right? But Mandy had put a tape recorder in the car earlier, and we don't
crazy.
see this. We just see a tape recorder in the car, and we have to assume that it was Mandy who did it because Mandy's mean. Remember that.
What high
So then the
schooler
next-
in 2011 has a tape recorder?
Right? I'm like,
And knows
where
how
did
to
you
use
get
it.
Okay, Nancy Drew. All right, go off, I guess. So then it's the next day, and the morning announcements are happening, and Tess from Camp Rock goes up to Harper from Wizards of Waverly Place, and she's like, oh my god, how was your date with dishwater Matthew McConaughey? And she's like, it was great, but I'm not gonna say anything. And she's like, haha, that's funny. And then the audio of the date is played on the PA system, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, do you believe that? And then some other voice, who we don't know who it is, it's some disembodied voice, is like, that's right, everyone, Tess from Camp Rock is a virgin. And I'm like, hold on one second. Let's pause here before I
Nobody
continue.
at this school is a virgin.
I guess.
Only
Nobody.
the losers
I guess
are.
I guess this is the same school from the pregnancy pack. So everyone's like, oh my god, she's a virgin, and they laugh and point because it's a teen movie, and that's, I guess, what adults think teenagers do. So she's like, oh my god, everybody knows. I'm like, why is that a big deal?
It's not, first of
Oh,
all.
it's
but
not.
then I feel like movies, a lot of the time, will try to play both sides. Like, oh my gosh, you're a virgin, that's hilarious, and you got bullied for that. But then if you have sex, especially if you're a girl, maybe not so much a guy, but like if you have sex and
Only if you're a
frequently,
girl, because you never see this with boys.
oh my gosh, she's such a slut, haha, let's
Oh
bully
my
her.
god.
But then it's like, well, what do you want from me? Do you want me
What
not
do you
to have sex,
want?
or do you want me to have sex?
We love Madonna whore syndrome. I love that. I love movies that hate women. So what happens next? Okay, so Tess from Camp Rock and
One
Harper
thing-
from
oh,
Wizards of
real
Waverly
quick
Place.
Before we go on, I just want to
Yeah.
say one thing that I think is so weird about this whole like tape recorder gag is that like no movie ever points out one thing that I always feel, which is like, okay, yeah, like I guess she's a virgin in this school. That's hilarious. Cool. More creepy than that. Who recorded this audio? Who had no
Right.
life that they did this?
Also,
That's the
It's
real
Mandy,
reason
honestly.
here, isn't
can you imagine on your morning announcements, all of a sudden the announcements stop, you hear this random conversation? I would just be so confused. I don't think I would be able to focus
Yeah.
on who was saying what,
Mhm.
or like, why does the whole school
does
know what they sound like? If I heard,
It did. The monitor
Someone
has
who
a
wasn't
picture
directly
of them
my-
there while it plays.
oh,
so
okay.
you can assume it's them.
But
The pictures
still.
that were shown on the slideshow.
but still, I
Who
would
took
be,
these photos?
I would be so focused on what is happening that I think I would completely miss anything that was said.
Yeah, it would take me a.
Because I'd just be like, what?
Everyone in this movie just immediately processes everything that's going on. They're like, oh wow, someone's getting back at Tess, and now we all know she's a virgin. But like, I don't. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't think I would even process like what was happening. I was like, this doesn't sound like a morning announcement. What is happening? Like, yeah.
Mhm.
So
Like, so anyway, so what happens after that? They're in the lunchroom, and she's like, oh my god, I can't believe everybody knows my secret's out. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. And then 3 random girls who we have not seen anywhere else in the movie walk into frame, and they're like, hey, Tess from Camp Rock, we heard about you on the morning announcements today. We just wanted to let you know that what we think that's super cool. Because all three of us fell for this one senior boy, and we put out for him, and he dumped us the next day. We all got played by fools. So we joined the abstinence club. I'm like, is this movie on crack? Is this crack that we're smoking? What the heck is going on? Like, I don't know why this movie Like, I don't know if this is their attempt at, like, the don't have sex standing up, don't have sex in a hot tub, because if you have sex, you will get pregnant and die. I don't know if that's their attempt at this,
you might be
but, like,
right.
they're missing, like, the humor of that,
Right.
and they're missing the irony of that
And the fact
scene.
that it came from an adult teacher.
The fact that it was not
it came from an
helpful
adult
to
teacher who
anybody.
is sleeping with students.
Yeah, forgot about that. That was
Like, it's like the writers of this garbage movie saw that scene and was like, yeah, we need more of this
What?
in our movie. We need to slut shame girls. We need to push abstinence like it's a Lifetime
it's
movie.
almost worse
What?
than that in a way, because what if the writers of this movie, this trash movie, had the audacity to be like, you know what, they really didn't take this take advantage of this platform and teach kids about safe sex practices. We're gonna promote maintaining your whatever nonsense. When, like, really, it was just a goof. It was just a funny thing that you're like, that was bad teaching. That didn't teach anybody nothing.
Yeah.
He just gave out some condoms and said, don't have sex.
And don't do it. You're gonna die.
Oh
Like-
my gosh.
There could
Also-
have, and like, this movie could have redeemed itself a little bit if there was a scene later where Tess from Camp Rock, like, does something similar to, like, what Easy A does at the end, where Asian American actress Emma Stone is like, you know what, like, whatever it happens, it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be okay with it. It could happen tonight, it could happen next week, it could happen 5 years from now, but the point is that when it happens, I'm gonna be okay with myself. I'm gonna be happy with myself, and I'm gonna value myself equally as much as I do now when it happens, because my body is not my worth as a person. I am so much more than this stupid concept. I'm like, if we did that, this movie could have been just like a teeny tiny bit better, but it didn't. This movie didn't care. They had 22 days and they're like, we're not gonna try and say anything. We're not gonna have a message. We're not gonna have a moral. We're just gonna go for it. 22 days, ladies, let's get this bread.
So before we go into our next batch of characters, thoughts on plastics as a whole in the original movie?
There's obviously an exaggerated stereotype of queen bees of the school. I mean, it was based on, so Mean Girls was based on
Queen
a
bees and
book.
wannabes.
Yeah, queen bees and wannabes. So, my high school experience, we didn't have any group of people that was particularly like the populars. I don't know how true that is to real high school, but Tina Fey was the one who wrote the movie, and she based the screenplay off of her own high school experience, and then also drew things from the book as well. So I don't know, they were done right, obviously. They were somewhat ditzy,
So entertaining.
yeah, somewhat ditzy, but not completely just dumb. Even the
Brain dead.
even the parts of them that were dumb were set off by other characteristics. So they
Karen's
were
ESPN.
right. And she even knew, like, even Karen knew that when she was being,
The way Regina.
yeah, like when she was being tricked and stuff, just because she was an airhead, she wasn't like completely socially inept. So they
Yeah.
were
And she knew when Regina was, like, going too far.
right.
Like, the whole, like, so it's against the rules and you can't sit with us. I'm like, yes, Karen, put your
Yeah,
foot down. You're
exactly.
doing
It's
great,
adorable.
sweetie. I love you. You're my favorite part of this movie.
So they were all interesting characters, even though they were the antagonists. They all had they individually had their interesting aspects to them, and then as a whole were the perfect storm of popular mean girls.
I
Yeah.
think that's good.
And just so many good one-liners.
Yeah.
Just
That's so
excellent.
fetch.
I'm a mouse. Duh. Do you want to do something fun? Do you want to go to Taco Bell?
I can't. I'm sick.
And just the way she looked
Yeah,
at
but
that
he's my
phone.
first cousin. You have your first cousin and your second cousin.
No, that's definitely not right. One thing I will add is that I feel like the original movie did a good job of explaining to us that, like, yes, high school doesn't matter, but to the students of North Shore, the plastics are everything.
Yeah, so yes, high school doesn't matter, but to the students, high school matters. When you're in the middle of it, it absolutely matters. And maybe it won't matter 5 or 10 years from then, but that is so hard to see when you're in the middle of it, when you're a dumb teenager. You can't see past that.
When you're a teenager, like, going through
right.
it, it's really hard to, like, see, like, 5 or 10 years. Even just, like, a week after graduation,
Right.
It's so hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Even in college. I remember being in college and encountering people that I wasn't necessarily friends with in high school. And we were cordial, but I still had this... it was just a weird feeling about them. And now that I'm out of college, I'm like, oh my gosh, everything makes so much more sense. How could I have been so dumb? But when you're there and you're in the middle of it and you've never experienced anything like it before, you don't have this broader worldview, that's your whole world is high school, you really feel like it's real and it's really important and it matters and it's not going to get better and you're going to be the loser forever and they're going to be on top of the world forever, but it does get better.
Yeah.
So I think the first Mean Girls did a really good job of exhibiting that, like Zach said. On the one hand, high school doesn't matter, but on the other hand, for the students, it is everything.
I think, yes. And, like, so I'm glad we're all on, like, the same page there. But unfortunately, I gotta bring it back to Mean Girls 2.
We were on a good
when we
track.
talk about Mean Girls, when we talk about the first superior Mean Girls, we have, like, really good things to say about it, and not just, like, this movie's iconic, like, really good, like, analytical things to say about it. And then we get to the second Mean Girls and I'm like, God, this movie's garbage trash. Do we have to talk about it?
I definitely feel like a bit of the bad guy this video, for sure. But my problem with the plastics in this movie is that, like, I feel like the fourth wall breaks really helped cement the image of just how relevant Regina George and her people were. Like, I saw Regina George wearing army pants and flip-flops, so I bought army pants and flip-flops. Like,
one time she punched me in the face.
like,
It was awesome.
just stuff like that, like, whatever. But, like, with these girls, so, okay, like Carina mentioned, Hope from Jonas or whatever. Her thing is that she's a neat freak, and she's creepy. Chastity, she's the Gretchen of this, and
Ema.
yeah, and Ema is Chastity, and she's the Karen. But her thing is that she likes to canoodle.
She's easy.
She enjoys the company of men and canoodles.
And that's fine. If that's what you want to do in high school. I'm not gonna say, like, go for it. But, like, if that's, like, something you want to do.
The only thing I will say is that, like, maybe when Principal Duval is literally like, you can't skip class to canoodle, you're going to the principal's office, don't immediately start flirting with the TA right there. Like, they made it like this girl has a problem. This girl needs help.
Yeah, maybe she needed therapy.
Like, full, like, Cameron Dallas, I went to rehab for a sex addiction. Like, that's, like, the point that this girl is at.
Like, she had a problem, and they don't really address it. They do address it. She didn't know what her...
She joins the abstinence club at the end of the movie.
Meant, and when she learned that...
I think that was just, like, a kind of line where it's like, she finally learned the meaning of her name and she joined the abstinence club. I'm like, girl, like, get out of here. Go away.
I mean, honestly, I guess that's sad. I feel like I might have liked it better if she genuinely just was unaware. I was like, oh, wow, really? Okay. Well, time to
Can
change.
I say this was apparently a big enough plot point that that exact line is in the Wikipedia page. It's like the last sentence of the Wikipedia plot summary.
Mm-hmm.
Chastity learns the meaning of her name.
Like, I hate it. I hate it. It's so dumb. Also, I want to talk about Hope, because Hope makes me sad. Genuinely makes me sad.
Okay, what are your issues with Hope?
Okay, so Hope, her thing is that she is, like, very germophobic. She's like, I can't do germs. Tess from Camp Rock says, she's like, oh, Hope thought that germs meant to being ugly. I'm like, literally, what does that mean? It's like, oh, if you have germs, you're ugly, and I want to catch you're ugly because then you'll die. I'm like, that's dumb. But then the movie flip-flops on that halfway through when we're going through yet another montage of, like, trying to mess with everybody. We learn that a couple years ago, Hope got mono. And now she's, like, scared of getting sick. She's so scared of getting sick that she won't drink from, like, the school fountains.
That's fair.
There's some scenes that, like, hit really different in 2020. There's a scene where they go to a party and Hope has a mask and gloves on.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like,
Oh, it's real.
That hits different in 2020.
It predicted us.
I'm like, oh no. But yeah, so, like, really germophobic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that Tess from Camp Rock decides to, like, get back at her is she tells a bunch of people in school to cough on her.
Oh no.
Which, again, hits different in 2020. But, like, they're like, right in her face, right? And she's germophobic, yeah.
I mean, it hits different in 2020, but also 9 years ago, still gross.
Yeah, if I don't welcome a bunch of people coughing on me at any time in my life,
Yeah.
regardless of world events.
I'm gonna walk everyone through mono really quick, right?
Okay.
Mono ruins your life.
No, okay.
I've not had mono,
I have had
but I've seen my
mono.
sister have. Okay, yeah, I've seen my sister have mono. She's still, like, her immune system has never recovered.
It trashes your immune system. It took me so long to recover from it.
One thing.
Yeah, like, she, like, had to go to, like, the doctor and, like, get some stuff done, but, like, she still, like, had mono in her system.
I got strep every year after I got mono for, like, 10 years.
It's like, it's not just, like, a cold that you get and you're like, oh,
And
no,
by the
like,
way, like,
I'm sick.
I don't know if this character not drinking from the water fountains was supposed to be like, oh my gosh, she's that germophobic. I got mono from a school water fountain because I was in 7th grade. I had not kissed anyone yet. I did not share drinks with my friends or chapstick or whatever. And so the only other way I could have gotten mono was from the school water fountain. So,
Yeah.
because freaking idiots put their mouth on the whole thing. But anyway.
Like,
it's
a serious illness.
It is.
It's not,
and it
like,
makes your organs enlarge. It's not just like, oh,
Yeah.
I got really sleepy, because you feel super fatigued. It makes your organs enlarge. I had to go to the doctor like once a week for 2 or 3 months to make sure I didn't rupture any organs and I wasn't bleeding internally. Yeah, it's really intense.
like,
Do not recommend it.
waste away, essentially. Like,
You just sleep all the time.
like, I could literally see, like, my sister just, like, shrinking. I'm like, this is scary.
because you're
And the
so
movie's
tired,
just like,
you don't
you
want to
just-
eat.
Yeah, you don't want to eat. You can't, like, do anything because your respiratory system is shot.
Yep.
And the movie's just like, haha, she got mono, cough
You
on
know,
her.
it is
hee hee.
funny that you bring it up because I remember, like, just in shows, I didn't really know anything about mono. Just shows were always like, mono's the kissing disease. And, like, there was this episode of Boy Meets World where Corey was homesick with mono, and Topanga came to bring him his homework, and she was like, what are you sick with? I heard you have mono. And then he was like, yep. And then she was like, well, who did you kiss? And then they're broken up at this point in the show. And he's like, why do you want to know? Because you like me, huh? And she's like, shut up. And then she leaves and she's all jealous. But, like, that was what I thought mono was. It's just how you tell people, see if people are interested in you because you want to know who they've been kissing that diseased them.
My cousin got mono, like, years and years ago, And we were like, how did she get mono? She's at a girls' school. And then years later, she came out as gay. And we're like, oh.
Well,
We're like, oh, I get it.
Okay.
It was foreshadowing.
So, Gretchen.
Yeah, it was. We were so stupid. We're like, but how did she get it? She just goes to school with girls.
So, in the original Mean Girls, Gretchen's hair is full of secrets because she knows everything about everybody. How did...
Is that why my hair's so big, but my brain is empty? I know nothing.
Well...
Oh my gosh, that's another thing. They talk about how Gretchen's hair is big.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at her character in 2000, I don't know if it was big hair in 2004, but it is not big hair now.
Yeah, it wasn't very big at all. But I guess, it wasn't even like she had an intense perm or anything. She's like curled her hair.
She just had curly hair.
It was just curly. It wasn't even teased. It wasn't heightened. You know those what were they called? Were they called bumpets?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they give you yeah.
Yeah. None of that going on. It was just normal curled hair.
Yeah, it was.
So that line is kind of funny. But
yeah. How did Gretchen in the original Mean Girls, how was it implied that she acquired all the information she had on everybody at the school?
I don't remember.
Well, okay. She was just a gossip. She just talked to people. People just told her.
Okay.
In this movie, Hope, who serves as a Gretchen, has literal manila folder files on everybody, and she just straight up lurks in the hallway and follows people and watches them and takes notes on them.
Ew.
Love that. We love a downgrade.
Ugh.
I just want to talk more about the Karen downgrade, because that's just rude.
Because I get, they did, shame Karen, but, it was never actually, accurate to anything. They just, said it about her and kind of made her, or tried to make her believe it about herself, but not really. She just,
that scene when they're, in Regina's room, it's the do you want to go do something fun? Do you want to go to Taco Bell? And Regina's like, no, I can't eat Taco Bell. God, Karen, you're such an idiot. and then Katie's Karen, you're really not that stupid. And Karen's like, no, I am. I'm failing almost all my classes. Karen. She's so sweet.
You know what though? I respect being cool with yourself. She's like, no, I am. That's fine. You can't. Not everybody can be the smartest.
Also, I want to briefly talk, because we, in the planning process of this, we were like, oh, let's also watch the Mean Girls musical, slime tutorial, link online. And then I don't think we got around to doing that. But Karen in the Mean Girls musical is so good. I love her little opening number. It's great. And then her Halloween number is so good.
Oof. Excuse me.
I give you sexy corn.
So now...
I give you who I want to be.
So now we gotta talk about the lady of... Well, we already talked about Katie, who was played by Lindsay Lohan. But the second...
I love how this is Lindsay Lohan month and we barely talked about her.
Because this is her good movie.
Yeah, she did too good.
We all know this is the best Lindsay Lohan movie. Facts, no printer.
Freaky Friday is good.
Mm-hmm.
Life Size, one of my favorite movies, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But Mean Girls is just the little cherry
I've
on
never,
top.
God,
I'm
tears.
sure, I hope nobody comes in the comments to correct this because that'd be sad. But I've never met anybody who didn't like Mean Girls.
Yeah,
it's not, again, if it's not your thing, but I've never been seen anyone who's that's a bad movie.
It's literally unanimously liked by everyone.
It's just so good. There's something in it for everyone.
It's funny. It has a great message. Legitimately, I was pretty hormonal, but legitimately when I was watching it, I was tearing up at the end in the prom scene or whatever, spring fling scene. It's such a good movie.
it's like just that like ending is so like heartfelt, and it's like, hey, this crown's for all of us,
And
because like just the whole like when she's going around where it's like, oh, like your hair's so
Right?
beautiful and like
It
that
must
dress
have
looks
taken
great, and I'm
forever.
like, I'm gonna cry.
know.
That's so nice.
And it's genuine. It's
Don't
not,
get your yeah.
So
and for
Don't get your hopes up, ladies, because nothing like that happens in the end of Mean Girls 2. I'll tell you that much
like
for
Tess,
free.
And-
Tess learned nothing about herself.
Mean
Yeah.
Girls is so relevant. It's just so integrated into pop culture too. We have kind of like a a spirit stick kind of thing at work that we do during staff meetings, but it's suspenders. It's like this whole thing. And one of my friends, when she got them, when she was passing them on, she was like, I just want to do the Mean Girls, like break a piece off and give it to everyone. Because there's so many people I want to give it to. And it's, I don't know.
Just, like, I know,
So
like, lots of
relevant.
people who would really benefit from, like, that, like, apology thing that they did where it's like, Gretchen, I'm sorry I told everybody that you got diarrhea at Barnes & Nobles, and I'm sorry I'm telling everybody again. And then they catch her. Like, that's, like, a nice little,
Yeah.
like, hey, you had a fight with everybody. Here, this will fix
Yeah.
it.
That was really sweet.
And then Janice does her thing, which is so
Big
counterintuitive.
lesbian crush
Yeah.
on you.
It's so counterintuitive to the exercise, but it somehow still works because everyone's
Tina Fey's watching this. She's like, oh, Lord, this is a
Yeah.
mistake.
everyone is against Regina, so
Okay, one thing I want to say really quick. How does, like, Mean Girls 2 have Regina George get hit by a bus, and Mean Girls 1 still treats its antagonist, quote-unquote, character better than Mean Girls 2 does?
Yeah, we gotta talk about Mandy, aka the Regina George of this movie, aka she doesn't even belong in the same breath as Regina George. She carries her dog in her bag to school, which stopped being a thing in 2005 after Paris Hilton stopped doing it. Nobody does that anymore.
I didn't
or maybe they do.
think you were allowed to do that in school anyway.
Like,
Is this a service animal? Is this her therapy dog?
maybe college or to the store.
and real
but
quick,
not
just
high school.
let's throw in some animal abuse on Mandy's part. So I mentioned earlier that the reason she hates Abby is because Abby always has the better thing. So at one point, Mandy mentions to her friends, like, I ordered this bag. And they're like, what about that really fancy bag that you wanted? Well, it turns out that Abby's dad gave it to her for her birthday, so she's got the bag that Mandy really wanted, and she's like, ugh. And so she takes her bag that's pales in comparison to Abby's bag and throws it and her dog in the trash, and then Abby...
Well, like, the reason why that happened was because the dog went to go see Abby, because this dog is like, hey, my owner's not feeding me, I'm hungry, and like barks at her, and Abby's like, oh, okay, and gives her some like food, and then the dog proceeds to yak in Mandy's purse, and then Mandy's like, ew, disgusting, who did that? And then this hand comes out of nowhere and it's like, it was Abby. And that shot is just
it like
really
zooms
something.
in and slows and it like flies, like the camera like...
There's like a whoosh sound effect, like it was Abby.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh god. So then Abby gets bullied, and then Mandy proceeds to throw the dog into the trash, and then Quinn runs into frame and takes the dog bag out of the trash and runs out of frame, and then the scene
I
ends.
also would like to say that one thing I respect about Regina George is that she definitely had her standards. Like, North Shore was her kingdom. She did not
Right.
mess with affairs outside of the school. That wasn't her territory. She knew her place. Mandy straight up wrecks Tess from Camp Rock's family income. Her dad fixes engines for racing, and her dumb friends dress in camouflage break into the house and pour sugar into the engine that the dad was working on for money.
Oh, jeez.
I will say this scene is where like the only good line from this movie comes in. Hope is like carrying the sugar in like a fanny pack. And Mandy looks at her and she's like, fanny pack? Never okay. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny. But at that point, you're so brain dead from the rest of the movie that it's
Also,
funny.
I disagree because I like a good fanny pack.
Yeah, fanny packs can be cute, but like you have to
you can make
be
them
able to
fun.
pull it off.
Yeah, you can put snacks in there.
Put your keys. You don't have to worry about your pockets like your
Right.
parents
Yeah,
don't always have.
You can put snacks in there.
You can have a nice cozy fanny pack. But anyway,
Yeah.
so like
We are pro fanny pack on this channel.
also
Yes.
at one point, like when they start like their revenge thing, one of the tactics to take down the plastics is Abby throws a party the same night that Mandy is throwing a party at Abby's house. So it's across the street. Everybody goes to Abby's party. I feel like this wouldn't have happened in the original Mean Girls.
This is such an interesting dynamic between Mandy and Abby, because Mandy is supposed to be the antagonist, the Regina, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet she seems to not have any power.
Yep. Like, she immediately gets thrown.
She's like, the whole point of these kinds of movies is that there's a queen bee. Anybody else who's not the queen bee is vulnerable in a way. But Abby is richer than her, gets the better things than her. Everyone
Is
comes to
nicer
her
than
party. Like, are we sure we're focusing on the right character?
I mean,
I just don't get it. And we don't, like, see scenes throughout the movie of people being like, oh my god, Mandy, you're great. Like, we see Quinn
just
do it.
Quinn.
But that's
it's
it.
only Quinn who wants the plastics. And, like, fine. I get, like, I feel like this could have been interesting. It's just weird that it's, like, Mean Girls 2, because then, like, I'm expecting that. Like, maybe if this was, like, a breakdown about how, like, well, Mandy actually doesn't really have power. All it took was the students coming together to realize, you know what? I don't like that Mandy's mean to people.
You're just a kid.
Maybe that could have been interesting. But instead, we keep getting told that Mandy is this, like, equal to Regina George. She gets what she wants, but she constantly fails at every turn. Who cares what she thinks?
Yeah. You're just a kid in high school. That's it. Like, there's nothing to you. You're not, like, witty like Regina George. You're not sneaky like Regina George. You're not Regina George. Stop trying to be Regina George.
I'll also say one thing. So, like, Mandy, you know, virgin shames Tess from Camp Rock in this movie. And then she, like, is... So, like, if Tess says something to her, she's like, whatever, virgin. And she makes out with her boyfriend. Now, back to this party that nobody went to. I feel like people would definitely go to Regina George's party. But also, I don't think that high school Regina George... Like, we met here that she had a birthday party in 8th grade. But honestly, in high school, I don't think Regina George was throwing any parties anymore. She doesn't send them, she just gets them. As far as, like...
Right.
You know, so...
Well, where was the Halloween
That was
party?
at Chris Eisner's. Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway, whatever. So, but it's really important that people come to Mandy's party. So she goes across the street, and then she's like, Tess, you think you're so... And she has Hope bring Ipecac to drug it. And then... But Tess immediately sees, like, them across... Yeah.
She smells it. Like, does Ipecac have a smell?
Potentially? I don't see why not.
I think it's
The only reason I know about Ipecac is from Most Popular Girls in School, season 1. Oh, that's such a good show. I am waiting for it to come back.
She had a, but also, like, she spotted, like, Regina's people and was like, well, we're not the only people who paid the pizza guy. Like, we're not eating this pizza. But, like, she does let Nick, the
boyfriend who is
Mandy's
boring
like,
as
he's
well.
basically Shane Omen, but still somehow worse. And Shane Omen had, like, what, 4 lines? Like, I don't know how they do it. But anyway,
They somehow pull it off.
So Mandy's like, you know what, Tess from Camp Rock, you think you're so great, you're so cool, well, you're a virgin, let me show you how we do here. And so she does the sloppiest, nastiest kiss with discount Shane Omen, and then he immediately throws up because he's been eating the pizza. But honestly, I don't blame the Ipecac, because that was a nasty kiss. I didn't like it on my screen.
Sometimes do you ever kiss somebody and then afterwards you're like, oh, I feel a little pukey. That was a little yucky, a bit of a mistake on my end.
Disgusting. Ugh. Well, like, and then, so, okay. So we've gone through the breakdown of, like, pretty much all the characters and why Mean Girls 2 is just trash. But I guess to sort of, like, wrap things up with this whole thing. We talked about it before, about how Mean Girls had, like, a really solid message. Katie was a sheltered girl. She goes in through this stuff, and she learns, like, she sees the error of her ways. She takes her lumps. She makes a decent apology, gets uncanceled, and then peace is restored in the universe.
Can I just say real quick, the other reason this works for Mean Girls 1 is because Katie was homeschooled, so she hasn't been through all this stuff. This is she goes through discovering who she is within the course of a year. So she's like, oh, I don't really fit in with anybody. Oh, these people like me. Oh, so do these other pretty people. I don't really like them, but I kind of do. And so she's like discovering who she is in the realm of high school where she has never been before.
Yeah.
And that's why it works
and, like,
so well in this movie.
I think it's, yeah, and it's, like, really clear. But Tess, on the other hand, she doesn't really learn anything. Like, so it's implied that, like, yeah, she went, like, a little ham with the whole anti-plastics deal, and she's she's becoming a Regina George-esque person, which is kind of sad that she's, like, kind of better at being Regina George than Mandy, but, like, wasn't the point of the movie. And, like, at one point, what's her face? Chastity, Karen of this movie, has a crush on Tyler, so Tess sees Chastity watching, so many names, and watching, and
Ema!
she goes to kiss Tyler, and then Tyler's like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? And then that happens, so she's being, like, mean. But then Mandy, again, messing with stuff that I feel is out of the realm of the school and social status, but she gets Tess from Camp Rock expelled and says that she stole the homecoming money, but really she and fake Shane Omen stole the money and framed Tess for it. But she gets expelled, and she's like, oh, the Tess is just like, man, how did I get here? Mandy's such a liar, but I was mean too. She also, I forgot to mention, because, like, as far as learning anything, it didn't really do much, but Tess learned that it's bad to take money for being someone's friend, and she really just liked spending time with Abby in a lot of ways, and so she gave the money back.
Was that really something you had to learn?
Well,
I feel like that's innate.
Well, she needed money for college because the dad blew their money on some bad investments.
But she didn't learn that. She knew it was wrong, and she took it anyway. And then she felt bad about it later.
Yeah.
That's not growth.
Yeah.
That's
Another thing that Mean Girls 2, like, completely misses the mark on, and I'm sure we've, like, been implying this throughout the whole video, is just the way that it treats the antagonists. Like, Regina George is, like, she's a mean girl, yeah, we get that, but at the end, she really comes around. Like, there's a little line at the end where it's like, oh, like, Regina learned how to, like, channel her anger and, like, joined the field hockey team or whatever. And we're like, okay, that's something. And there's a deleted scene where, like, I think everybody's seen it at this point, but, like, her and Katie are in the bathroom, and she's, like, talking about something from her childhood. She's like, oh, you know, like, when I was little, I had this, like, beautiful dollhouse, but I never played with it. And my mom said that she was going to give it to my cousin if I didn't play with it. And then Katie's like, oh, so you started playing with it. And she goes, no, I threw it down the stairs. I'm like, that's good. It's like, you know, like, you're, like, a little crazy, but, like, you're fun. Like, I like you. You're a real person. But, like, that's like, okay, like, we got some, like, there's character to her. She's not just, like, I mean, like, there's a real person there.
Right.
And then Mandy is just this caricature of, like, someone who sucks. I have nothing good, like nothing
She is,
smart
like,
to say
a
about Mean Girls
robot
2.
told someone who
We made an AI
Oh, yeah,
watch
it was-
high school movies, and
It's
this
an
is the
AI,
mean
that's
girl it came up
what it
with.
is.
That's what the script feels like. We made an AI bot watch 1,000 high school movies, and this is the script it wrote.
it's all in all, I like, we said before, this is, quick reminder, this is still Lindsay Lohan month, and
Despite everything we have said this episode.
she did a really good job as Katie Heron, and just everybody who worked in the movie, you could tell so much love went into the original Mean Girls movie, and like, it's just so quotable.
So this came out a year after Freaky Friday, just to point that out. Which honestly,
She was still killing
yeah,
it.
Freaky Friday and Mean Girls are, I think, some
Like
of the
2 in a row.
best Lindsay
What was?
Lohan movies.
Do you know what her movie before or after Freaky Friday or Mean Girls was?
No, but I can find out.
All right. But yeah, Melanie Maron, who was the director of Mean Girls 2, you're a talentless hack.
Yeah, what
How
happened?
dare you ruin this?
Okay, so I guess Paramount Pictures bought the rights to Queen Bees and Wannabes. So I guess they could just make a sequel without casting any of the old directors or producers or anyone.
I'm just like,
Because
why did they
literally
do
nobody who worked on the original worked on the sequel. Except for Tim Meadows, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
I'm just floored that this movie exists.
I have the IMDb page for Lindsay Lohan. Freaky Friday came out in 2003. Get a Clue was in 2002. That was directly before.
Okay. All right, so
Um,
3 hits in a row for Lindsay so far. Excellent.
And technically, right before Mean Girls was Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
4 bangers in a row. Actually, I haven't seen Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen in quite a while. I'm hoping it holds up.
I never saw it. I did have the soundtrack. The soundtrack is great.
Soundtrack is great. Megan Fox just looks stunning in that movie, and that's all I'm gonna say until we talk about it in the next episode, I think.
And then
Yeah. Stay tuned for that, everyone.
she
Check off Carina being gay in your bingo board.
she did a lot of like video shorts and stuff. And then in 2005 she was in Herbie Fully Loaded.
We don't need to
And that
talk
was-
about that movie. I think
If
we
we
decided.
ever make another Lindsay Lohan month, maybe we'll work it in.
That was really like the last
Hit.
big thing that she did. I'm looking
And then she did like Liz and Dick for Lifetime, and that's bad.
I'm looking at these like her other credits, and it's just like she played herself in a lot of things like Glee and
Yeah.
Scary Movie
Hi,
5.
I'm Lindsay Lohan.
I do remember that.
You might
I was
remember
pretty
me.
I was on board with her Glee.
I'm not a fan of Glee, so
I mean, I think it's just one of those things. Like, honestly, though, like, I
Mercedes deserved better.
I will just say I love Glee for all the things that the creator went on to make after. Like, if we needed Glee to get to the politician, okay, I'm in.
I'm just saying, Mr. Schuster deserves jail
Oh my
time.
gosh, totally. Mr. Shoe, yes, no, lock him up. Throw away the key for sure.
Awful. Maybe we'll talk about Glee in the future. Maybe Glee will be its own You're welcome
Just the
episode.
series of Glee. All right.
Oh, what's the okay, well, because just real quick, because I haven't watched Glee, I don't know what this character's name is, but the one with the weird hair.
Oh, Puck. Oh, yeah. Oh, we don't need to talk
Yeah.
about him.
Remember when
Oh,
Puck
wow,
was
you
like,
got it
years
from
from
that.
now? Remember when Puck said, years from now, I'm either going to be in jail or dead?
Yeah, he was really
That didn't age
correct.
well.
We don't need...
I'm
Look
like,
that up on your own
"Oh,
time,
we don't
kids,
talk
if you
about it."
want. But I'm going to keep that
No,
off the...
kids, Kids specifically, children, no. Stay away from this man.
Anyway, thank you guys for talking to me.
Yeah, what a nice note to end on.
Thank you guys for talking to me about Mean Girls.
In conclusion, to the audience, you all get a piece of the spring fling crown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here you go. Click. Tosses it into the audience.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Your hair looks great.
I bet it took
love
you
those shoes
forever
on you.
to do. Regina
Just that dress.
broke her spine and she still looks amazing.
Oh,
We should totally stab Caesar.
yeah. Whoever you blame Coco, you go blame Coco.
And none for Gretchen Wiener.
Bye.
Goodbye.
So on that note, thank you guys for listening, and remember to comment, like, and subscribe because we all need friends.
Bye.
Bye.